Giant iPads, pink iPhones, and a $100 pencil. Tech News Tonight is next.
This is Twit.
This is Tech News Tonight, episode 420 for Wednesday, September 9th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by the new Epson Workforce printers powered by Precision Core. Workforce is an award-winning line of all-in-one printers for your home office, small to large business, or corporate work groups. Visit Epson.com to find out more. Welcome to Tech News Tonight. This is a show where we watch the 2-hour keynotes, so you don't have to. Joining me to talk about all the Apple announcements of the day is Georgia Dow, senior editor at iMore. Welcome, Georgia.
Hi.
So I know you've been busy doing your other job as a therapist today, but you've been keeping up too. So let's get right into it. I'm not going to go into the order that Apple did the keynote because I think I like my order better. I think the important stuff comes first, which is the announcements of the iPhones. They saved that for last. I won't. The iPhone 6S and the 6S Plus, they'll include 3D Force Touch. I think that's what they're calling it. I'm not exactly sure. It has an A9 CPU, a 12-megapixel camera, 4K video. Pre-orders start September 12th. The phones start shipping September 25th. What do you think about the new phone?
You know, it's funny. I find it so sad. The thing that I'm most excited about with the new phones is that it comes in a rose gold. So, you know, it's faster, it's better, it has the Taptic engine, we're dealing with the 3D Force Touch. Those are all great reasons to upgrade your phone, but for me, it would be that I would get it in rose gold, which looks absolutely stunning.
I do like the rose gold. We'll talk about the new Apple Watches later, but there's also a rose gold Apple Watch, as I'm sure you saw, which was also pretty. But I don't think I'm not ready to upgrade my watch yet, just for the rose gold. But we'll talk about that later.
Upgrade? I see. The thing for me is I don't actually upgrade my phones every year.
I don't either. But
I wait till 2 years, and so I usually will wait till it's a fully new phone, looks different, a little bit better. And so the rose gold kind of calls to me, but for me it's not enough to make the jump.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we were trained to upgrade every 2 years, which I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we would have thought that was ridiculous. Every 2 years, who needs a new phone every 2 years? And now I think they're training us to upgrade every year.
Right. I'm gonna be fighting with that.
So let's talk about the 3D Touch. I think that 3D Touch and Force Touch are actually two different things. Force Touch is, of course, that's what you use on the Apple Watch to change watch faces or to clear all of your notifications. Just press down. 3D Touch is something specific to the phone. It's sort of like a right click. You can force touch or 3D touch the camera icon and then choose the selfie option just in case you need to make an emergency selfie. You have fewer clicks to do that. What do you think about the Force Touch, or I guess let's call it 3D Touch? What do you think?
Right. I think that for me, it's going to take a little bit of use. So we end up getting when you've learned a certain interface, you are used to doing things in a certain manner. So whenever they change, and I think Apple's really good about changing only a few things at a time. So I think that it's going to be really useful, because I hate having to go and look into settings or find other buttons or where is it on the screen. So I think that it's going to be really usable when I get used to being able to do it. This is not a manner in which I'm used to using this, and only rarely even on my watch. I rarely use Force Touch. I really have to think about it. I'm like, oh, how do I change my watch face? I'm like, oh, yes, I have to press down on the screen really hard. And so I think that for that is going to be the most difficulty, is that, oh, yes, this is how I access that. I'm used to seeing visual buttons. And so for the manner in which I use it for each application is going to be difficult for me. But I think that after a while, I think it's going to be nice in being able to have a quick method to get to the areas that I really want to get to. So I think that it's a good thing for them to add, but I think that it might take people a while to actually see how useful it is and then get used to that change of an interface.
So do you not do a lot of notifications on your watch? Do you not get a lot of notifications?
I do, but I see them and I leave them. I don't usually reply, and I don't even like replying to notifications on my watch because I'm not able to type. And if I deal with a lot of clients, and so I cannot speak to my phone, and it's no longer confidential. Sorry, speak to my watch. It's no longer confidential, and so it doesn't really help me in most case situations. Like if I'm like going to be late, or I can say okay to something, that's fine, but to be able to actually type something in and then there's a mistake and I have to go back all the way through it and cancel it, I find that very difficult. And so usually I'll just wait. But it's a nice method of triage.
Yeah, I don't reply to a lot either, but to get rid of all of them, that's how I use Force Touch on my watch. Just, Force Touch on any notification and you can clear all of them with one Force Touch. So that's one thing I really find useful. But it's interesting because I think, their tagline for the phones was the only thing that changed is everything. I feel like this was a little bit of protesting too much. I think a lot of people were saying, well, do we really need to upgrade every year? And not that much has changed. I don't know if they're claiming this 3D touch is really going to change everything, and like the way pinch and zoom changed, which it did, and that was hard to know at the time when it came out that it would really change the way everyone interacted with technology. But do you think this has the power to change as much as the gestures that changed everything with pinch and zoom?
No, I think that's a great the pinch and zoom really did change the manner in which we interact with our phone, because we were able to see things that we weren't in another case, and we don't have to chase things around on the screen, which made a huge difference for that. I think that the Force Touch is going to save time. It's going to be a little bit more useful, but I really don't think that people are even going to notice to it. And I don't think it's going to be something that people are going to want to upgrade for, because it's something that we don't fully understand its utility. And I don't know, I can't see it being a game changer. I don't see people upgrading because of this, even because of the difference in speed. I don't think that it's enough to make people want to upgrade if they already have. Like if you have a 5, that would be a different story.
Right.
But if you have a 6 already, they're all incremental changes, and I don't think that it would be enough in order to shell out the amount that you're going to have to it. So I think that pinch to zoom is a huge deal breaker, and I even every once in a while I'll look on a photograph and I will actually try to like pinch to zoom something, and then I feel ridiculous because I'm so used to it. It's so innate to me to make something larger. It's intuitive, whereas I think that the Force Touch is a nice bonus, but I can still access settings, or to go to, dealing with doing a selfie or changing the camera. I can do that. It's just more steps.
Well, it's always interesting to me, when you see a child walk up to a television and try to use it as a touch screen, or walk up to like any picture and try to, pinch to zoom. Yes. And I just wonder if that's going to be the same thing. 2 and 3-year-olds will never know how to not force touch.
Well, which would be damaging to most of our technology that's there.
Right, exactly.
Like, stop pressing so hard on that, please.
Yes.
I think that for some people, Force Touch is actually going to be difficult. I think that people that are dealing with disabilities, people that have arthritis, people that are older, I think that it might actually be a little bit difficult for them to think of that. It is less intuitive than pinch to zoom is. So my mom, she pinches to zoom, and she can do that and she can understand that and remember it. But even when I write out the list of how to access each different program. And I said at one point to my mom, I said, hit the, send button to it. And so then I see her like actually hitting the screen on the phone. I'm like, no, don't hit. And so now it's almost like the opposite of what I'm going to have to tell her. Don't press too hard. I'm not going to have her access the functions through that. So I think that for some people, it's not going to be very intuitive as pinch to zoom is. It just makes sense to widen things open in order to open them up versus Force Touch, which is less intuitive to that.
Yeah, I always think that you can tell a lot about someone's relationship to technology by how they, if they're going to hit the keys or tap the keys, or, it really says a lot about how they feel about their devices, about how they interact with them. So we'll see. I guess not much else has changed. The size has only slightly changed, like 1/10 of an inch or something. Presumably our cases will still fit unless they're very specifically fit. Another big change is you don't have to be plugged in for Hey Siri anymore. So I don't know. Are you excited about that?
No, not at all. I think that's going to be the first thing that I'm going to turn off. I don't know why. I don't like my technology listening to me. It kind of creeps me out. And I know that Apple's been really wonderful with security, but I don't want it to turn on whenever I happen to do a podcast and talk about Hey Siri, or say that and beyond. So, it's not something that's thrilling to me. I I like to be in control of my technology, not in the other way. So I don't like the idea of it, you know, eavesdropping till when I turn it on. And I know that I'm very particular to that, and probably most people won't mind, and they'll accept that it's a nice utility if you happen to need it. But I hate the thought of, even with my watch every once in a while, I happen to have like pressed a button without knowing it, and it's recording, it's transcribing everything that I've said in between that time, and the thoughts of that I might have sent that by mistake to someone is like, oh, that's not comfortable to me.
What about the live photos? That was the kind of Harry Potter sort of feature that the phone will automatically take many pictures so that you have sort of a GIF kind of feel, but not a GIF. What did you think of that? Did you get to take a look at that?
I think that it's going to be cool. I think that it's probably not something that I'm going to be exceptionally interested in doing. But I don't know. It's something that's kind of fun. I think that a lot of people are sending gifts out, and so they might be more interested in it. But I don't know if it's probably going to miss my age. I don't know. Maybe if something really cool is happening, I might do it. Are you going to use this?
Well, I like it. You know, Google Photos does that automatically. It does add a little bit of life to your photos, I think. But it is a little bit creepy sometimes too. A little bit robotic, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It might be really cute to do for, you know, for your kids if you're doing something really cool. But like, to me, then it's almost exactly the same as sending like a really short movie. So for me, it's like, I don't know.
So let's talk
about almost the same thing.
Yeah, it's not new. So the new iPhone upgrade program, let's talk a little bit about that. I guess you'll get a new iPhone every month, every year for $32 a month.
That's great.
4 years from now,
deal.
that's what we're going to be talking about. I can't wait a whole month to upgrade. I need to get it in 3 weeks.
This now.
So every year you get a new iPhone. 32 is the base price. I think that's for like the smallest iPhone, which is too small, especially if you're going to be taking free pictures for everyone with this live photos. But so the price goes up, but it's directly from Apple. A lot of carriers have been doing this in the U.S. I guess, does it work the same way in Canada, that they've been sort of going off the 2-year upgrade plan and offering you this installment plan?
It's kind of interesting because in Canada, actually, it was usually 3 years that you have to wait until you would upgrade your phone. And a lot of people are also dropping off with no longer offering it. I think that this is a brilliant idea from Apple, so that they end up, I think that a lot of people wait 2 or more years for getting a new phone because of the cost to it. And so this is a great way to have people like feel like they're at the cutting edge of technology. They're always going to get a new phone. And by doing it in installments, it's a small amount per month each time. It's still equating to the same thing, but people often, when we have money in our bank accounts, we like to spend it. And so it's something that it's already gone, it's already saved up for, and you don't have to worry, or you don't have to think about it. And so I think it's a brilliant idea for Apple. I think that's going to increase sales exponentially to that. And it also takes the hands out of the carriers, which I love. I love the fact of not being locked down. I don't like that feeling of, you know, kind of being beholden to, like, I can't leave. I'm kind of stuck in a plan because I only have like 6 months left and I want to get a new phone. And so I'm going to wait that time out. So I like the idea to it, but I don't know if I would be someone that would, you know, be locked in, because I still think that even though, you know, I talk so much about technology, I think that I would still wait the 2 years. I don't want to have to get a new iPhone every year to that.
Well, I like the idea too. Like you, I mean, I've had wonderful experiences in the Apple Store. I've had mostly horrible experiences in the Sprint store, which is my carrier. Right. I always feel like they're fooling me. It's like used car salesman kind of situation. And so I've already started with Sprint has been offering these sort of installment plans, and I'm not really sure if I'm buying it or if I'm actually renting it. And that's kind of they get around that by saying, well, you know, you won't want it in 2 years anyway, so it doesn't really matter if you're buying it. But then what happens when you lose it or when you break it? I mean, I read a lot of Apple's fine print here, and I can't figure out if it's a rent-to-own or a loan or, you know, kind of a Rumpelstiltskin situation where you have to give up your first child if you break it before 2 years. I cannot figure it out. They do say that you need to have a loan with a bank in order to sign up for this program. So it's not as easy as just, you know, handing over $32 a month. Right. Which I don't know. That kind of puts a little bit. It seems very un-Apple-esque to have to go through that, and they don't just, you know, withdraw as with any plan, and you can kind of see to that. So I'm not really sure which way that's going to go. So let's move on to the iPad Pro. That's the 12.9-inch display, the giant iPad. The 9.7 inches was the size of the iPad Air 2. It has 5.6 million pixels. Then that's a lot more than some MacBooks. Is this something you're interested in upgrading to?
Oh, I don't really use my iPads very much. I have like a graveyard of iPads that have not been charged, but I've always wanted to have a larger iPad. And so, and the worst part is the thing that attracts me the most to it is one is it's this large size. So that's what I use my iPad for is if, I want to see something that's going to be bigger and it's portability because it's still light. It's a little, this is the first iPad that's not actually thinner we're dealing with. It's a little bit larger. But I think that it's great, its size. I love the graphics to it. And I love the fact that I can get like a little smart keyboard and pencil to go with it. That's so awesome. I love using a stylus for it's called the Apple Pencil, but I love using a stylus. So I'm like, am I gonna be shelling out, $7.99? I would probably have to get the mid-ground one anyways. So I'm like, oh, it's a lot of money, but it's really beautiful.
So what do you use the stylus for now?
I usually use the stylus if I'm going to be drawing something or if I'm going to be playing games. I find that in a lot of games, the problem is that my entire hand is then over the screen when I'm playing a game, which is a horrible way to interact, especially if you're doing a game that happens to be a slide shooter where you really have to see and you have to deal with accuracy. And so I would usually use a stylus for that, which would lessen my hand and I don't have my entire hand on the screen at the same time. And the same thing for even if I'm scrubbing through a movie, I find that my finger is highly inaccurate in order to properly scrub through and I'm not like skipping through 20 minutes instead of, 10 seconds. And so I think that the Apple Pencil is going to be, especially if it is truly one pixel that it can detect, that's going to be really helpful for people that do, fine detail work or graphic design work on the iPad, because fingers are fabulous, but they're not great for fine details. They're just stubby, and some people have really large, as my friend says, he has sausage-like fingers, and it pretty much, it takes up the entire screen.
Yeah, I mean, the promise of drawing beautiful pictures to each other on the Apple Watch didn't really come to fruition. I mean, I can't really draw anything with my finger on the Apple Watch.
No,
besides
it's horrible. Renee can actually, he can draw dragons and other things on his watch. Yeah. But I'm not a great artist anyways, so even on the Apple Pro on the 12.9 inches, I probably couldn't draw anything great either, but at least I'd be able to have finer detail with my horrible stick drawings.
Well, I mean, the stylus does look beautiful. It looks like there's not much latency. I mean, it's just, it does hopefully that it will look like that in real life. For $100, you would hope that it would.
Yeah. I think that it would be, I think that it's going to be worth it though. Even though it's quite pricey for a stylus, most styluses are much cheaper. But if you also take a look, most styluses, they don't have the thin tip. They have a very wide edge. And so this is really beautiful that there's an exceptionally fine tip. I love the fact that it's pressure sensitive. So if you press harder on it, you will get a thicker pen. And it even tells, it has two sensors in the tip, so it can even tell if you are leaning it towards the side. And so this is for artists, I think that this is a game changer. I think that for the average user, I don't think that they're going to really notice much. I think that they probably already, don't use a stylus, so it's going to be something to change with. But even if you're choosing to write on your iPad, I think that this is going to be really beneficial.
Yeah, I wonder
if
it
doesn't. Where do you put it? It doesn't have a little place that you're going to put. I'm going to lose it probably. That's the only sadness.
I know. I mean, apparently you charge it through the lightning cable, but I don't know. That doesn't look good. I don't understand how that works. I mean, it's not like then it's just a stick sticking out of your iPad. So I don't know. But I mean, you said it would be a game changer for artists. I wonder if it'll be like an OS changer for artists. I mean, a lot of artists use Wacom tablets, or I talked to an artist that uses Android tablets for drawing and different apps. So it might be, these abilities might have been there, but not on iOS. So it might be enough for people to change that way.
Yeah. Are you thinking of getting the iPad? Does it having a larger screen, does that matter to you? I
don't know. I do think that I could easily upgrade. I've been using a Chromebook just testing it along with my MacBook. And I find that it's not obviously as fast or as powerful, but I can do all the things that I normally do. So I would obviously be able to do even more things on an iPad. I do like the Office apps on iOS. I'm a big fan of them. So I don't really know what would keep me from buying it, except for that I don't really need it right now. But I can imagine in the future that it would be an upgrade that I would do.
Yeah. Yeah, and think about people that are visually impaired or that are elderly, and it's difficult to manipulate small things on a screen. The larger screen is wonderful. So I love that fact as well. So it might be something that I might be actually even looking forward to get from my mom, because she only has a tiny iPad. So I think that that'll be useful.
So we talked a little bit about the new watches. Do you have any thoughts on that? I was saying before the show started that the Hermes watches that have the leather bands that wrap around like a scarf, they're quite beautiful. And again, if I had that extra $1,000 burning a hole in my pocket, I think I would buy one of those before I bought one of the big iPads. And you said you had a story that you wanted to tell about the new watches.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll first say I love the new leather bands. I think that especially the one that's the thick band that goes with the leather band, I love it. I think that I'm going to be purchasing that right off the bat, because I love the idea of having like an Apple Watch that's more like a bracer than it is a regular watch band. So I think that those are really, really stunning. Now, so I had a silver Apple Watch. This is my story of shame. I have a silver Apple Watch, and I was just so sick of having the silver Apple Watch. I was really sad that I didn't get a black sport watch. So I was always mentioning it, and I'd actually bought these little stickers that you can, I'll just even show. I'd gotten these little tiny like healing shields, and I got this in black so that I could put it over my silver watch band, so I would have a black watch face instead of having a silver watch. And so Renee saw it before I went fully ghetto and got like a black edge on it with a little silver rim that was going to show. For my birthday, he bought me a black Apple Watch.
That's nice.
Which is so kind and completely spoiled me, which was really nice. But that the beautiful rose gold Apple Watch, I'm like, oh, that is really pretty. So I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do about this? Wait, and so the gold also is stunning.
It is. Do you have a third-party band on that watch?
I do.
It looked like you had a leather band that looked nice.
I do, actually. I got a third. This is from Etsy, and it's really pretty because it is the face of a samurai on it, and it's really, really comfortable. And so I use that one, and I think it's called like from Pioneer 1956. And so it was a little bit pricey, but I absolutely love it. So that's why the leather Apple Watch band's kind of called to me. But this one is so comfortable, I might just keep that one, even though Apple brought some nice soft leather now. So that was my issue with the old Apple Watch bands, was that they were really hard. I found them uncomfortable for my small wrists.
And that one from Etsy is probably not $1,200 as the Hermes one is.
No, it's not. I think that it's like 80 or it's 100. So it's still pricey, but I'm also supporting a small company, which I liked.
Right.
And I just thought it was really pretty.
So coming up, Apple steps up its gaming game, and they also learn how not to make a woman smile. But first, this episode is brought to you by the new Epson Workforce printers powered by Precision Core. The new Epson Workforce printers use ink, not laser toner. They're more efficient. Epson developed new print chip nozzles that they call Precision Core. They fire nearly 40 million dots per second, precisely delivering print shop quality with vibrant colors and clear, crisp text. The high-resolution Epson print chips are one of the fastest inkjet printing technologies in the world. Workforce printers make mobile device printing easy with work group connectivity and incredible dependability that you know from Epson. Unlike laser printers, there's no warm-up time. You can print on a wide range of media. They're energy efficient. So go to Epson.com today and find out what the new Workforce printers can do for you and your business. That's EPSON.com. Epson, built to perform. Now on to a few more stories from the Apple event. And we didn't hear a lot about iOS 9. Presumably everyone who's really interested has already downloaded the public beta or read all about it from people who have. We did get the news that it will be available next week on September 16th. Are you going to download it immediately, Georgia?
I usually don't, but this time I will. Mostly for my watch, but I'm going to be getting it immediately, and I didn't have it beforehand, so I can't wait till I can use I can take a look through time on my watch. It's going to be very cool. So that's actually why I'm doing it.
Time travel. If only now we can time
Yes.
travel ahead, a week ahead, and make sure that, it's okay to download right away. I mean, everybody who's been using the public beta says it's great. I know they put it on hold for a while until the end, so they're ready. So I think we shouldn't see any problems.
Yeah. Yeah, Renee is usually the guinea pig to that. He always downloads it immediately. And so besides some battery issues that he had on his watch, everything else worked out beautifully. So then I'm like, okay, it's safe to dive in.
So the Apple TV, there was a big announcement about the new Apple TV. The remote will work with Siri. It's basically a slim wand with a touchpad at the top. From what I've seen, it has pretty simple controls: the menu, home, volume, Siri, the motion sensing capabilities, which means I guess you can use the remote as a game controller. There's also a glass touchpad, an IR port for turning up and down the volume on your TV, and then a lightning port at the bottom for recharging. Are you going to get the Apple TV? Is that something you're interested in?
I probably will. It's not something that I'm hugely interested in. I don't know what I was hoping for, but I'm like, I'm not going to probably use it for gaming because I have a gaming system that I do for that. And I think that Apple just does not do gaming exceptionally well as of yet. I'm happy for the attempt to it, but I do like the fact that they have the touchpad on it. I think that that's going to make it easier to search through and find different things. And I like the fact that they have Siri so I can speak to it and find out whatever shows that I want. And it's not always listening. You press a button to be able to access it, so I don't have to worry about the creep factor that goes with that. So I think that I'll probably get it, but it'll just be because of the use case of the controller, which will save time. I love the fact that it's 3 months per charge, so I don't have to worry about that. Though when it's so long, we also have that neglect factor that we might just forget to charge it altogether. It's easier to do something that's a habit every day, that's a habit, 4 times a year. So it'll probably die out on me because even my phone every once in a while dies out on me because I forget to charge it.
Well, yeah, that's my problem with iPads. I know you've had that problem too. That's why you have the lined up graveyard of iPads because you forgot to charge them. And then, well, what do you do now? Right?
Yeah, I need it now. And then I'm like, oh, I'll just walk and get up and get my air.
So I think with the new iPad, it looks like you'll probably have to charge it every night. But I think it was a 10-hour battery or something.
Yes, 10-hour battery. So it's all day. It's better, but it doesn't really, for me, 8 to 10, like it's not really any difference to me at all. It's not enough to make it easier to use. With the controller, it's fabulous that you have to charge it very rarely, but because of that, I probably will not charge it and it will go dead. And then you will end up being really frustrated when you want to watch a TV show, where we become very acclimatized to having something that is that immediacy. And so suddenly waiting or having to charge it, I think is going to cause frustration for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I was excited about the Apple TV. I was excited about being able to, use Siri. And but then I started to think I was pretty excited about using Siri with Apple Music and all the tricks you could do. But I don't really use them that often. I don't often find the need to play music from 2001, even though I know I could ask Siri and she could do that. From the movie or from the year. But right. So it is sort of like tricks, that I can't imagine actually practically needing the things that they were showing off in the keynote.
I think that for that, it's going to be the difference on how accurate it's going to be. So, where are you in the room? Is there a lot of noise happening? Is it going to really hear you very well and then enact it? The problem from Apple Music, I didn't use it as well because I would look for songs that they would not have and it would say, I'm sorry, I cannot find them. And then that became frustrating. So it's frustrating for me. So then I would just manually search because then I wouldn't feel that let down feeling of it cannot find the song that I'm looking for. It sent me somewhere where I don't want to be. And the same thing for TV. We want something immediately. And so if it gets over a 95% accuracy rating, we will probably be able to continue using it, those that like to speak to their television instead of moving buttons around. But if it goes less than that, I think that there'll be a huge drop-off of people saying they don't want to be bothered because they know that they can definitely get the right results from searching manually. So I'm not sure, especially if you have kids and there's a lot of noise in the room, it becomes very difficult to properly speak so that it can hear you.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of kids, I mean, that was one of the things I was most excited about the Apple TV is its ability to bring the whole family back together, as opposed to the way our family has sometimes, we like different entertainment and we all have devices in which we can watch that entertainment on, so we become separate. And so here's a way to, we can play Minecraft on the TV in the living room. That sounds great. Because my husband is very anti-gaming system, which is another story. But
another time.
Right. So I think maybe I could slip this in and he would have no idea that we were bringing gaming. And, my kids do like to play Crossy Road. That's what they were showing off. And, it would just be nice to see more of what they were doing instead of having it on their little device in their room separate from the rest of the family.
Yeah. You know what? That's what I used to when I would play a game on my phone. I used to mirror it onto the TV so that everyone could kind of watch together and we were all kind of participating in the game and rooting each other on, which I think is lovely. I don't know if this really changes that interface to it, so it would depend how great the controller will work through to that. But with physical buttons, we'll have to kind of see.
Yeah, I guess we will. But the other things they were showing off are sort of against that because, they showed off all these ways that you could check baseball scores while you're watching TV or check who's in the movie while you're watching TV. And if only one person in the room wants to do that, that annoys everyone else in the room.
You're so right. You are absolutely right. I was like, that is wrong. I would not like that. It's intrusive to the screen. I'm going to be upset. And then especially if it's a scene on a movie or on a TV show that you're really interested in, and then suddenly you see someone, swiping through and checking out something else. That actually, I think, should be something that you would do on your phone so that you're not, this is something that you want, not everyone wants. And so that's nice to keep it just to yourself. So, I don't like that at all either.
Right. I mean, if you had the ability to do it secretly on your iPad, not secretly, but, mirroring whatever you're watching on the Apple TV on your iPad and be able to look just yourself, that would be better.
Well, why can't you just do that on your phone? True. Is my thought to it. Like, exactly. You really don't have to, intrude on everyone's program with that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've been looking up who people are that you don't recognize in movies on IMDb, for decades now, right?
Right. Right. We already know how to do that without causing. I don't know. I guess if it's something that, it's a bet for the, everyone's made a bet on what this person is, maybe that would be something that would be a group activity, but I can't see many times that would be beneficial to a group. I'm not sure.
So finally, I know you did not spend the whole day on Twitter as I did, so I might have to catch you up on this story, but there's something I'm calling Apple Photoshop Smilegate. That's what I've called it. There were no women in today's event, but the first woman on stage, there were women in today's event.
Yes.
The first woman on stage was a model, and she was part of the Adobe demo on the new iPad Pro. She wasn't even in real life. It was a photo of her. They were demonstrating how this works, and they decided they were going to Photoshop her so that she was smiling more. When I was watching, I thought, well, that's weird. Aren't we a little bit anti-Photoshop at this point? But Twitter got very upset about this. What are your thoughts? Did you think that was kind of tone deaf for them to choose this as a demo?
Well, it's a little bit stereotypical, and I think that now that we're much more aware of, women and beauty and Photoshop and us trying, I don't think that it's as big of a deal. I think that Twitter can sometimes go and run with stories that are taking a little bit more than they need to out of it. So, we do like to look at pretty people, and it's nice to have a nice smile. If I don't have a nice smile on a picture shot, I think, oh, that's too bad. So I understand why people are upset because we already kind of objectify women. And so it would be nice if they chose to do something that was not trying to make women more beautiful in a false sense to that. But I also understand that it is a very easy way to show, the way that they could use that. But they're just kind of falling into old patterns. And so I think that it's Apple being a little bit unaware of the main events that people are, main topics that people are upset about right now. And especially with having so few women that they always have on stage and people are talking about that. It's kind of sad that they, often will bring up beautiful women for the purpose of being beautiful.
Right. I mean, I guess they could have said, let's get rid of some of her wrinkles, or let's make her look 10 years younger. There were all kinds of other things they could have said.
Yes, which would have been worse.
But
but they could have had a guy up instead. But
exactly. Mm-hmm. And it could have been not the first woman on stage.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
So do you have any other final thoughts about today's keynote?
Let's see. Unicorn emoji.
The emojis. Yes, we were going to talk about the emojis, but then I thought maybe we'd run out of time. That you're excited about the unicorn emoji.
That's it. That's the one that I will use constantly.
So these are the ones that are coming out with iOS 9, brand new emojis. I have to admit, I fell behind a little bit on my research. I don't remember what the new ones are. I think they left out the middle finger emoji. I'm happy about that, but I mean, there are times when you might want to use it.
It would probably be used more than some. There's some emoji that I completely do not understand what are they representing and why are they there. So I almost need to have like an emoji dictionary of like when would this emoji be useful. But I think that the unicorn is going to be one of the top favorites because it's absolutely adorable, and so that's the one that I'm going to use.
Well, yeah, I've just, had so many uses for the yam emoji. That is currently my favorite. I hope it doesn't mean something really weird.
Really? I don't even know. I have to look now. I don't even know which one is the yam emoji. I don't think I've ever used. I'm going to have to find it now.
That's the weirdest one.
You have to send me one.
Okay, I will. Well, Georgia, thank you so much. It is always a pleasure to talk to you. Georgia Dow is a senior editor at iMore. She is part of the iMore podcast team. Where else can people find you, Georgia?
If you have anxiety and you're looking to take care of it at home, you can check me out. We started a website called anxiety-videos.com. And on Twitter, you can find me at Georgia_Dow.
Thank you so much for joining us. Take care.
Thanks.
And that is it for this edition of Tech News Tonight. I have one correction from last night. Paul Tao tweeted the story that we reported last night about how you could use a Raspberry Pi and a laser pointer to hack a driverless car. Now, I mistakenly called the Raspberry Pi a $60 maker kit, and of course, that's inaccurate. Paul wrote, Raspberry Pi is a $35 single board Linux computer made to teach kids programming, not a $60 maker kit. Is true. It is not a maker kit. Paul is right. It costs $60 for the Raspberry Pi plus the laser pointer setup to create the device that you could use to hack a driverless car. What I also should have said was please don't try that at home. Raspberry Pi also announced this week that you could buy a touchscreen for the computer for only $60. That might be a better way to spend your money. And if you missed our live special this morning and you would like to hear more about the Apple event, you can check it out at twit.tv/specials. You can also subscribe to this show at twit.tv/TN2. You can write to us at tn2@twit.tv. And you can watch live every weekday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And don't miss our morning news program, Tech News Today, every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Megan Maroney. Thanks for watching.
Bandwidth for Tech News Tonight is brought to you by Cashfly.com.